Welcome to Team Fortress TV. We're going to be watching ETF2L Season 29 Premiership. Week 1, first official of the year, first official of the season. It's going to be the Swamp versus Ascent EU. It's going to be quite an interesting game, but first let me just introduce the rest of the cast here. I'm your host slash caster, HiipFire. I have my co-caster here, eepily.
How's it going?
We also have caster of the season 28, Beater here, producing. So you will not be saying any words, unfortunately. But you know, we do have a famous ETF2L personality here as well. But anyway, so yeah, this is going to be Ascent to You versus the Swamp. One of these teams we've seen last season, which was Ascent to You, but it seems like they have changed up their roster a little bit. They lost about, I think, like half their team. They lost Corback, Neo, and Flu. They replaced those with Funds from Low Pander last season. They got Chris from Choke Buses, and they got Josh from Lego. So it has gone from like a French lineup to what is now, I guess, a English-speaking majority team. I was gonna say Brit, but you know, Josh and Chris are technically Irish, so that's not really British, but English-speaking majority team.
That's very understanding of you.
No problem. I'm just here to help out, you know?
I think it's important just to take a moment of silence to say, Top 5 Rocket, the all-Frenchy team that this spawned from. You had a good run, but this is it. This is the end of your days. We're now moving on to a world where apparently multi-nationality teams is the way to go.
Well, at least we got a team to kind of make up for it. We got the German team, what was it, the Shack, to at least make up for the lack of French speaking, and we at least have a German team. So, you know, we still have one non-multi. Well, actually, they are multinational, but they're at least German speaking, which I think is close enough to like a national team. So, close enough, I guess. But
yeah, I think it'll do. And then, like I said, we've got the team which spawned from half Nunya, half 3 out of 6. The Swamp, full of fantastic memes, I'm sure. I said we get to see the return of Domo this season, which is pretty cool. He would have been last seen on that season he played with Lego, where he actually completely pounded. I think he is a absolute frag of a demo, and the only reason he stopped playing for a bit was because of I think, as with apparently every good demo in the game, he had significant wrist problems, but clearly seems to be fit enough to come back and play again. So I don't know. I'm hoping to see big things from Domo. I'm pretty sure I put him on my fantasy team.
Oh, the fantasy team. I didn't even think about that in regards to this official, but I don't think I have actually many people from either of these teams. Like Ascent was like, I kind of became, I did really lame things. I kind of just picked like Umbrak on Medic, and then I think I took like maybe Funds on Scout, and then just took a bunch of like middle of the pack players. I didn't really actually consider any of the Swamp players. Just kind of, I'm gonna actually transfer Domo onto my team whenever it's as soon as possible.
I think it's a good idea. Like the season he played with Lego, I think that was one of the seasons where Phil ended up on Medic. Yes. But apart from that, it was mostly like a regular kind of Lego core. And I think it was the season after, when it was uncertain whether or not Domo would be continuing to play with them. There was a discussion. I was talking to Phil about it, and he was basically like, he ended up coming back as Demo the season after, but apparently there's a legitimate discussion when he was just like, dude, you should probably just keep Domo. He actually could like completely frags. Just like stick with me on Medic and keep Domo as long as he's around. He's a big boy gamer.
Yeah, that's actually pretty legit. Yeah, because it was a big deal that like the old Lego core basically just reformed, but considering just not playing with or considering not playing with either Dr. Phil or calling them and just putting Domo on Demo, that's actually pretty big, because
it was very big at the time, strong. Very dramatic.
Yeah, because
yeah, I think it's gonna be interesting seeing Josh play with any medic which isn't Condom, because Josh is somewhat infamous in terms of his interaction with medics, and obviously he's played with Lego for donkey's years. And him and Condom have a certain natural rhythm, a certain kind of understanding between the two. I think like, there's no way Josh is going to be able to play the same as he played on Lego on this team, especially because you've got Elacor as well, who is a heal-hungry fragger. You can't, like, there's physically not room in terms of the heal allotment for Elacor and Josh to both play the way that they were. To me, it makes sense to basically give Josh a bit of a backseat role and let Elacor keep going, because, like, you know, let's be real, Elacor was a player of the season last season for a reason. That guy frags.
Yeah, definitely. From watching some scrims from Ascent, they sometimes seem to have a bit of an issue with like figuring out who is priority in the heals sometimes. Umbrax sometimes being a bit lost with who he wants to be healing, but I mean, regardless of, you know, potential like playstyle clashes, like just adding Josh like DM wise is like pretty big. I mean, like Korbag was really good last season, but I feel like Josh is maybe like at least a step up because like it at least gives a lot like calling as well. Because I don't think Korbag is like a that vocal of a player, and then with Chris as well, like replacing replacing Korbak and Flu with Josh and Chris is probably an upgrade, at least on DM wise, because like Chris is definitely one of the better players on choke buses, personally.
So the thing that was pointed out when this changed, this Josh going to Ascent thing happened, was the fact that one of Josh's great strengths is stopping from being people from being indecisive little yeah. So he makes people make decisions, like those moments where you're sitting there like, oh, do we do this thing? Do we do that thing? Do we walk forward? Do we go back? Do we just like, you know, what do we do? Josh doesn't stand for any of that, and he will just make that decision for you. So you won't just stand that middle ground. And as far as what I've heard, that was what, like I said, was missing a lot last season. They kind of had that a little bit fixed for them by they lost Neo in the playoffs, and then they got Thawash, and I think Thawash kind of filled that role of making people make some decisions, not just sit there indecisive and lose. But obviously that, like, them having Thawash as Merc never was a long-term thing, so I think it makes sense actually bringing a soldier in who can make decisions for your team, because like the rest of the team, like I don't think you've got a significant problem with. I think obviously it was seen from Fluo, like, you know, it was his first season in Prem. You're not going to expect like insane things. That transition between high soldier and Prem soldier is huge, because you go from, you know, having a reasonable time against high scouts to just getting pooped on by all the Prem scouts, because it's just a completely different kind of playing field. So no one was expecting insane things from Fluo, but, you know, that being said, he didn't have a fantastic season, and if there was a better option out there, which there was, it only makes sense to pick up a stronger soldier, especially since they kind of moved away from having a kind of region-specific type of team anyway. So I think Josh and Chris are like really good pickups, especially the fact that, like, I think, well, Chris has only had wasn't last season the only season he properly had in Prem anyway. So he's already impressed a lot from that season. So he's got a good amount of growth to go through. And then obviously, you know, you get funds, and funds is just a total fragger anyway. The only problem is, unlucky, this team's going to fold at the end of the season, because every team that funds plays on folds within like 2 seasons. There's nothing you can do about it. It's just the funds curse. Every Sixers and Highlander team, I think like the longest one he went on was like probably about 2 seasons in the past like 10. So unlucky Lego.
He did kill Champ GG, and that was, you know, that was going to be the 7, well, not the 7 killer, but, you know, that was the team that was poised to do well, and then they folded, and then yeah, he played low panner and they folded, and I don't know. I guess you might be onto something, but maybe it's just the team's funds plays on just either are incredibly depressed, or they're like Brit, like slowly moving into Brit majority territory. So,
in fairness, Ascent went from being mostly French to half, well, not quite British, but
yeah,
reasonably close. So, kind of just doing it again here. I think we're just getting delayed by people having god awful internet. I have no idea exactly what's happening, other than people making what I assume is bad jokes about people's dads playing Fortnite. No idea. Absolutely no idea at all. I think, you know, we can run down some players to look for. Players who are expecting to go huge. I mean, like, before we even talk about the players, I think most people looking at this game is going to see it as a pretty clear cut who's going to win. Like, a lot of people are going into this season expecting Ascent already to be second place. Umbrak said himself, he doesn't want to set himself ridiculous goals of being like, we must get at least second, we must get at least third, anything like that. They want to go for playoffs, same as basically every Prem team. They don't want to set themselves as hard goals, but everyone else looking at it is going to be looking at this roster and seeing, like, you know, frankly, the competition in Prem and being like, if this team doesn't get like top 3, something's gone terribly wrong. Just in terms of, regardless of how well they actually play as a team, in terms of raw fragging potential, they are like leagues above the vast majority of other teams. So, that being said, we've never really had this version of Ascent well, the previous version of Ascent never had problems playing reasonably strategic. It wasn't like they were DM donkeys anyway. The last couple of seasons, they ended up kind of following similar kind of plans to how 7 play. Like, you'd see a lot of 7 strats kind of taken and altered a little bit to suit Ascent's kind of specific players and purposes. So I think in general you're going to see Ascent have stronger DM and have stronger team play, and basically I'm going to say just wipe the floor with the Swamp. Sorry.
No faith.
Oh.
No faith.
That's a good point to make, actually. Before I let you throw down your trash talk, Yillen isn't playing Pocket today for the Swamp. He has been replaced by Crafty, who was there as a merc because no idea. Yillen's not able to play, so not happening. So you have a team which on paper is much worse in terms of DM and strategy, and they've got a merc, so rough times all around.
Oh, Crafty Dave was one of the scout mercs for Ascent last season, so maybe Crafty Dave has the inside scoop on, you know, what Ascent's tendencies are. Maybe he knows it all. Maybe they're really soldier weak. You know, maybe this Yillen not being here was just a ploy to get Crafty in, you know, for free. If you think about it, but I don't know. I'm very interested in this game because, like, regardless of how, as you said, like, Ascent's basically, you know, seen as the favorites going into this, I'm very intrigued by this by the Swamp roster. Like, it's a bit of a mix between like 3 out of 6 players and some Nunya players, basically like people who are relatively active within like pugs and stuff. And it's gonna be quite interesting. It's gonna be Crayon's debut as scout in Prem after previously having played for Low Pander as medic, which is going to be quite interesting. I think he plays scout in Highlander Prem. I think he's in like the contention to be scout of the season in Prem, in Highlander.
Yeah,
So
I saw something about that. I'm pretty sure he played scout in High last season for Sixes as well, so it's not like he's never played the class before in his life.
Yeah, it's quite interesting exactly how well he will play. And then they have the other scout, they have Gink, which, I mean, is a scout that people tend to see as a decent playmaker. The Gink plays, you know, those can always be seen as, and it's a decent scout combo. Domo, we've already pointed out, is really good. Dago's a relatively solid medic. Pred is playing roamer. I've never really had strong feelings about Pred, but I mean, he's been on these like Nunya rosters, so clearly he's not, you know, a bad roamer or anything. And I don't know, it's very interesting.
I think the problem is you say every player which is on the Swamp, and it's like, you know, Gink and Crown, decent enough scout combo, and then you're like, yeah, but Ascent has Credo and Funds. And then you're like, you know, Pred pretty good, but then it's like, I think the closest you've got is probably between like Pred and Chris. That's probably like the closest comparison you're really gonna make. But even still, I'd like put Chris on the top there. It's just well, I would love it if like Swamp came out of nowhere and proved me wrong and actually just completely threw a spanner into the works for Ascent, because ideally I want this season to actually be something a bit more interesting than a couple teams at the top and then like the little pool of others.
It is going to be interesting. Like this there's definitely some upset potential for the Swamp, because I mean, yeah, it is true, like they're relatively decent when you look at like the Prem, like all Prem teams in general, but like this is also like a new Ascent roster. Like this Ascent roster formed a couple weeks ago. They've been scrimming relatively actively, but this is like their first official, like this is their first game they have to play and where it like actually matters. So it's going to be interesting how they will be playing when like there's actually something on the line. And on the other hand, you have a Swamp roster, which, I mean, the players that have played on this team have played with each other, like, you know, a decent amount. Like, there's a bit of general chemistry already there. While on the Ascent roster, like, Funge, Josh, and Chris have not really played together before. I think the closest you've had is that, like, Funge played with Chris on that Gamers Assembly team, and then just the 3 players
The
on
team
Ascent
that
that
won
stayed.
Gamers Assembly.
Oh
I'll
yeah,
have
they
you know.
they won. They won
Important to
that
mention
LAN. But I mean, at least personally, I feel like that team relied a lot on News's calls, and that was one of the reasons they played so well, was because everybody just listened to News. So it
Well, that's actually really smart because
yeah.
they beat Umbrak anyway.
Yeah, the old
So
top 5
Umbrak
rocket. Yeah.
loses a Gamers Assembly. He loses his own like local land just down the road. So he gets salty and then kicks the rest of his team, and then picks up Funds and Chris. That's actually that's a good viewpoint, HiipFire.
That is.
I didn't think of it like that. That's smart.
Just in case you don't know, there is an 8 months gap in 2 Prem seasons between it, but that basically works out.
Hey, Umbrak plays a long game.
Yeah,
Give him a break, you know?
definitely. This is why he's one of the. This is why he's in, you know, the top 2 teams. This is why he's one of the leaders of the top teams, because he knows. I mean, who knows? It'll be quite interesting to see though. Like, there's definitely at least a lot more on paper synergy within the Swamp than Ascent is, and if like maybe if the comms get messy, maybe if Josh and Umbrak kind of collide within like in the game, maybe Funds as well, like it could potentially grow, like become ugly really quickly. So they definitely need to keep their, you know, to keep the egos, the personalities in check in this game, to make sure that they won't potentially give up early points, because I mean, really, this is not a match that they should be losing.
In fairness, I think from Ascent's point of view, like before they even get to the point of conflicting egos, they need to get Elacor to not have 200 pings so we can actually start this game. I have no idea what's happening. About 3 people have dropped from the server in the past like 10 minutes and then rejoined and then complained about internet problems. Yeah. I think everyone's just taking it in turns to just like smash their Ethernet cable.
Well, I have to say, I mean, this is an interesting game when it comes to like internet routing, because you have Kratos from Finland, you have like 3 Irish players, and as far as I know, like Irish internet routing can get pretty dodgy at times. You also have Pred, who is from Croatia, I think. So you have like a Balkan player as well, and like a bunch of Brits. Like, this is just like a game asking to have ping, and then you have Elicorn from France. Like, it's just asking for ping issues. Like, this is just gonna, it's gonna be once in a blue moon where everybody will actually have good routing to one server, and it's currently looking like Elicor is the one that's having issues. And
he's gone. I believe he's gone. I believe they're getting Kato. Kato's just been approved as Merc by in-game chat, so hopefully he'll be joining and they will actually be able to start the game and then play, which is crazy. It's a crazy concept, but I believe we can do it. We can make this happen.
The Cadus Merc, though. This is Cadus was the demo that helped lead Swift as a sub to victory last season, so I don't know. This is getting. There's more layers to this, you know. They lose to Funds, pick up Funds. They lose to Cadus, and they pick up Cadus. You know,
this is literally an amalgamation of all of the people that like Umbrak just loses to. So it's just like, well, how am I going to lose if they're on my team? It's smart. It is really smart.
He is slowly going to absorb just the entirety of top EU TF2 until he just is in the super team. He's just in there.
That's genius. That's genius.
This guy is thinking on so many layers. Like, everything he's done in his life is just on purpose. Everything. From like the 3 high finals loss to all the way into making Prem, getting 3rd, then getting 5th, and then losing a bunch of players, going away from being a French team, and then international, losing your LAN, and then picking up Funds, and it's just all this man, dude. He knows exactly what he needs to do to get within the Prem circle jerk, as one might say. Just force everybody to join your team.
If it helps, everything that was discussed about, I think it was about 3 hours ago when we started the stream, everything that was discussed about the team perhaps having slight issues with calls in terms of, you know, who's getting the resources, who's, you know, making the big decisions, how much, you know, Josh is really going to make people be decisive. All of that kind of goes out the window, because whenever Cadus smokes for a team, he always ends up sitting there and basically taking control of the game.
Yeah.
So I can almost guarantee, especially the fact that like Umbrak is used to doing a certain amount of like Seven's way of doing things, I would imagine he's gonna come in and more or less little bit take control anyway. So maybe this won't be quite the first showing of Ascent that we'd perhaps hope for. Maybe this is going to be the Kato shout at people variety hour, and then Ascent just runs forward and frags dudes.
I do definitely remember in, I think it was season 27 or season 26, that people did always have kind of the thing about, that Ascent just played like 7. So, I mean, it'll be a bit interesting to see.
There was a definite season where you would see the vast majority of like Ascent's play, it would be like an altered 7 strategy, apart from they do it a bit worse. So when they play against 7, they just do it worse, and then 7 would do it correctly, and then they'd lose.
I definitely remember somebody, I don't remember who said it, but basically describing Top 5 Rocket / Ascent / Nerd Rage's play as like a less confident 7, where they like, they played exactly like 7, but they didn't have the confidence to just push people and just own constantly. Like they kind of would sometimes play a little bit too passively and just let like advantages go by the wayside, or they would go a little bit too far and then it would get really messy and they would just lose in DM occasionally. So I think that's one of the things definitely that was their downfall at that French LAN, actually, that they lost to the Brit mix. So there's definitely a bit to this Ascent 7 theory.
HiipFire, I have no idea what's going on. Ascent,
I don't know.
No, Elocor's back in the server, still on 160 ping. No Cadus to be seen.
I feel like this is
like Elocor's now warming up on Soldier. Krady's on. This is just no idea.
All right.
This is just.
I feel like this is
let's make enough.
This is if this game is gonna take this long to start, I hope that this will make up for all the delays for every Prem game after this, and that this one will be just like an hour-long wait, and then every game will just start like 5 minutes after, when it's supposed to start.
All your spare time, rest of Prem, that's been used up in the first game of the season, okay?
Yeah,
so
exactly.
All the rest of them now, 21-15, sure.
If you're scrimming at 9:14, you're gonna leave. You're leaving. You're immediately connecting, and I mean, you're basically readied up. Like the server's going to auto ready up at 9:15 p.m. If you're not there, the game will start, and it'll just be a 6 versus 0 win for the other team. It's your fault. I think we need to contact ETF2L admins about this idea. I think we've got something going here.
Yeah, I think. Got a point. I think it's something worthy of getting the big boys into it. Yeah, like we were saying, so a lot of people are saying about Ascent, making this at least, top 2, top 3, that kind of thing. To me, I think most people are going to predict the same kind of thing for this season. A lot of people, at least looking at how the season is now, they're going to be expecting 7 to end up first, Ascent to end up something along the lines of second. You've got, like, the tricky bit is you've got a lot of these teams which got into Prem through playoffs. They're not necessarily like similar skill level, but they're similar in terms of like there's a lot of new Prem players, so it's a little bit uncertain. Like you've seen a lot of these players play in high and like absolutely pound people for like seasons and seasons, but that kind of difference when playing against some of the Prem teams can kind of like mess with people and throw it a little bit. I don't know. I think like if we're going to talk about the big teams to be looking at this season, I think you're going to want to look at Ascent and you're going to want to look at the German team, which I'm not even going to try and pronounce because I'm going to offend everyone.
Just use the old name. Just use the Shack. That's what I've been going with. That was their initial name, the Shack. So that's what I'm going with.
I think between the Shack, Ascent, and Nanya, those are the teams you really want to look at. I would say that you'd want to look at 7, apart from by Kate's own admission, who knows what's going to happen after Rewind, whether they stay together in any kind of sensible format, because they're like the least committed team ever. They're terrified of commitment, Playing a whole season just seems it's
scary.
It's a big thing. It's a big thing. So I think in terms of like teams that you're going to see improve and do well and actually be able to like battle it out, Ascent, Shack, and Nanya. And I think the rest, a lot are going to be, it's going to be like, at least from my point of view, really difficult to actually predict how they're going to play. I want to see, from a very biased point of view, I want to see the Rakuzen team do well because they've got my boy Raf.
Oh,
And
Raph.
I'm a big Raf fanboy.
Raph is the man. I met Raph at that French LAN, and he's a giant. I love that man. He is the best.
Oh my
He's
god,
the
HiipFire.
coolest guy.
I have very exciting news. Cadis is actually in the server now. They've told Eloquent to go home, get a hot water bottle, get in bed, because clearly he's in no fit state to play. And Cadis is actually here. We have 6 on each team. No one's got over 100 ping. It's spectacular. I have faith.
Actually,
You can
it's starting. It's actually not been that long. It's been...
Oh my god, we're going
there it
HiipFire.
is. All right, this is going to be the first mid, Ascent EU versus the Swamp. First mid of the entire ETF2L Season 29 Prem season. Let's see what's going on in this first mid. I want to see what Cadis is doing right now. He's going for the fast roll. He's going to arrive faster to mid than Domo did. He's going to get his pack. Domo's relatively weak. He's actually getting pressured away from his health pack by one of the Ascent soldiers. A lot of high ground for the Ascent scouts right now as the soldier will be jumping in very aggressively into the choke onto Gink, who's on sniper. Chris is going to go down. The first frag goes through the swamp. There goes Cadis on PC as well. Funz gets the cleanup frag, but Umbrak is already out. He's going to try and meet up with Funz, who's getting chased by Crafty, but that's going to be the mid to the swamp.
That was actual complete domination from the side of the swamp. Like, didn't even realize. I don't think Ascent properly realized that Gink was on sniper until like way too late. They ended up sending one of their soldiers super deep, but couldn't even kill him then. And at that point, by the time they actually realized and sent that soldier in, they had just been completely crushed over point. They had 0 position. They had 0 significant damage. It's that kind of situations where you lose your high ground, and that's kind of your mid over. And the best part now is that you already have Gink up on sniper, ready to kind of, you know, do the little off-class dance around last and see what he can get.
Yeah, they managed to catch second, yeah, off of the mid win as well. And Gink is on sniper, Kradu's on sniper, and they're the ones to watch to try and break this little stalemate, even Uber that we got going on right now. Gink is sitting mostly outside here as Ascent has full control in lobby after Crayon got sniped by Kradu. Kradu also peeking about in lobby as well, trying to find his own opening in lower lobby. Peeks and he sees Gink, he sees Crayon, but he wants to get that med pick. And Daegu is sitting on the little pipes behind second point, which is actually an angle that I've never really seen a medic hold before, but it's an interesting spot. It gives him decent vision, but gives the sniper a bit of an angle to potentially get a headshot in, but... Ooh, the body shot onto Pred. Pred almost cratered, but survives on 2 HP from that body shot. And, well, for now, it seems like neither of the snipers are really going to get onto the medic.
I'll be honest with you, the only way I see Kradu getting a headshot onto Daegu here is if he just strolls out, roll out, and hits a nutty shot. Like, there's no slow peeking angle where you're really going to get anything. I don't even think from one... No, I don't think it's even a proper angle from one. Maybe it's on the right on the edge of the hitbox. Like, I don't know. I don't think the sniper is gonna actually achieve anything from Kradu at all.
Yeah, both these medics are holding in relatively safe positions. Daegu on the pipes, and then Umbrak seems to want to sit like in front of the point by the wall to just not be like forcing Gink to commit for a headshot, but. Yeah, both of these snipers are just not really able to get anything. I mean, Kradu wins the 1v1 against Gink, gets that body shot, gives him a little bit more space to try and get anything going, but yeah, these sniper plays won't really be too effective unless one of them just goes absolutely nuclear. Kradu is going to try and peek one here with a scout who's going to open the shutter for him. He peeks. He can't see Daegu, though. That's a perfect spot for that angle. He cannot see Daegu, but you can see that the shutter does open, and well, oh, Kratos in top PC, he's so far in, he sees Daegu on the pipes, he doesn't shoot, and then he misses, he hits I think the feet of Daegu, but committed so far, but no frag.
No, like, so, actually in terms of, after all that carnage, you kind of did get 2 picks from the side of the swamp. They want to go in far right, just see how far they can take it. They know Kradu's down, there's no sniper to really contest them. And in the end, it is going to be a bit of a trade. You have Gink on the spy getting actually just macerated by Kradu, and yeah, I don't see this push happening. Although, they very nearly got Umbrak after him. Didn't quite pay off. Swamp's just going to walk away with their tail between their legs. Didn't really achieve anything, but didn't really lose too much. Like, they'll lose second, but equal Ubers. Not too bad.
Yeah, Ascent got the picks during the trade. They found 3, but they took a bit to get to on 2 seconds, so they won't be able to make it into mid. They want to peek this. Soldier Josh will be leading in choke, trying to see if there's any opening for him to maybe sack onto Daegu, but won't really work out as Domo has the choke stickied up already. And we seem to be in a relatively identical situation when it comes to, Uber status and off classes. Gink's on Sniper. Kradu isn't yet on Sniper, but Gink is going to be trying to find some big frags. It seems like
you've already got an idea of how this game is going to go. So far, I believe we've not actually seen Gink on Scout at all. We've seen Sniper, we've seen Spy, and honestly, it feels like the situation you're going to have is the fact that these teams, or at least the Swamp, don't really seem to have more of an idea of how to deal with an equilibrium situation than just have a Sniper, have him peek, see what he can do. Like, they're kind of peeking and prodding and doing this and that, but ultimately I think it's just going to come down to, does Gink hit a hero shot, or do they just stalemate it again?
Yeah, I think partially this is also just being, like, this stalemate situation is kind of being kept placed by also the fact that Daegu read the failing last trade really well. He left, like, as soon as the people died, he was basically out already. So, keeping the medic alive is also an integral part of these stalemates. But yeah, I mean, they do not seem very creative. I mean, Ascent doesn't seem too creative either. They've just been sending Kradu on Sniper and kind of aggressively peeking choke points. But yeah, nothing really coming out from them either. But I mean, it's the first map of the first game. Maybe these people just haven't scrimmed enough.
It makes sense. You're kind of feeling out your opposition. Yeah. You're just being like, how they react to this, how they react to that. What if we go into sewer, we take sewer control? What's Ascent doing then? Okay, they back up, they know what they're doing. Apparently, Chris felt it was a good time to go in, see if we can get something done. That doesn't really get anything. Logically, Blue should be doing something. They want to take sewer again. Like, Gink gets in a position, like, okay, they have control of sewer, now what? What's the plan? We need to have something clear in terms of what's, like, the end goal. How are you going to do it? Like, so Gink is still in sewer and the rest of his team's walked away from him? I don't know. I don't think they know what their actual plan is. So I feel like we're just going to end up sitting here stalemating and then randomly someone's just going to either hit a nut shot or enough people are going to feed.
That was so close. Gink saw the back of Umbrak, but he didn't pull the trigger in time and went down to the stickies. But Chris, on Spy, he's going to be trying a little bit of a more assertive approach. He's going to be behind the enemy lines, and he's going to go for that backstab. I don't know if the Swamp checked. I don't think Gink checked in spawn. Oh, Krady finds a headshot onto Crayon. He's behind Daegu. He beefs his backstab, though. He's just in his face. Gets one front stab and a revolver shot. Might even get 2. He gets the force. And that's going to be an Uber for the Swamp, but their Uber is so bad they can't get in. They're going to try and maybe send somebody in to sack onto Umbrak, but nobody's in position to do so, so it's going to be full ad for Ascent as they're trying to make their way into mid. Eventually they will make their way through choke. Small players
I believe Chris lived about, like, 15 seconds longer than he actually should have then. Like, shockingly bad from Swamp, and now they're going to lose second as a result for free. Now Ascent have Uber advantage pushing second. Like, I don't know. This is all just sloppy from Swamp.
Well, Ascent is doing a good job of keeping this Uber alive, though, making their way through the choke into second as well, dodging that sticky trap by the rocks. Cadis and Fun just forcing every single Swamp player out of second. Cadis wants to go Uber into one here with Funds. Uber comes in onto Cadis. Funds gets the flash in as well. Cadis jumps over to the right side, trying to cut off all these Swamp players that are trying to sit on the right spawn door. They get the gun, they get Crayon, but that's the only frag they've gotten so far, as the second point hasn't been captured, as Crafty actually contested and finds a frag onto Kradu. So Ascent has to go back, deal with Crafty, and then cap up the point. Uber having completely faded, and Swamp now having the Uber ad.
What is going on? Kato jumps behind them into panic. He gets chased by like 2 guys and then just jumps out one and just no one even reacts to it. I have no idea what's happening.
Well, Ascent is in. Is trying to go for this force, I guess, but they've committed 2, basically 3 players alive to this force. Kradu will walk Umbrak out, and they did force, which is successful, but this should allow the Swamp to get out onto second, but Josh is in control room, so he's going to be a bit of a nuisance. They have to clean that frag up, but now They go into second, but Funds and Chris have now already spawned. Josh buying so much time for Ascent, as their Uber's going to come up as well. Crayon and Domo are on second, but the rest of his team are just following now. And Crafty jumps on top of Umbrak, gets the force, but there goes Crayon, there goes Domo. The Uber is going with 2 scouts through 1 onto the medic here. Daegu's very weak, but Gink is trying to just do what he can to keep his medic alive. He just can't pull it off. All these players are everywhere. That's 4 frags for Ascent, not a single death. It's going to be 1-0.
That was, like, I don't know. That was a pretty much just disastrous from the side of Swamp. Like, I have no idea if they have real plans of what they're doing or whether it's just kind of like hoping for the best, but, well, it's clear that Ascent have more of a game plan. They have some more structure going into this in Swamp, because they're just letting people get away with way too much.
So Kratos tried to check off classes in spawn, but he kind of delayed his own appearance on mid by doing so. So he's a bit late, but Swamp hasn't really utilized that at all, as Swamp takes the right side here. They're on Ascent's side of mid, and they find Kradu. Soldiers from Ascent are trying to just collapse on anybody they can find, but none of them are really finding anything. Cadis is alone on the PC of the Swamp, and now it's Josh and Umbrak. And, well, I guess the Swamp won that mid.
Yeah, again, like, so apparently Ascent just don't know how to play mids at all. I'm going to be optimistic and say, hey, maybe it's because they don't have their main demo. They're not playing the same way as they, like, usually would, but I don't know. They just don't seem to be able to deny any part of what the Swamp are doing. The Swamp are just, like, they're just more or less picking a direction. They just picked far right. They just walked straight across it, and Ascent could do absolutely nothing to contest them. So, as much as the Swamps seem to have really dodgy holds by comparison and pushes, apparently Ascent are also just unable to win mids in the current state. So, I don't know, little bit tricky.
Yeah,
at least that's pretty the best thing Swamp have going for them.
Maybe Ascent is just having a lot of fun in these stalemates, you know? They want to be on last.
Oh, they love it.
And just with even Ubers, that's maybe that's their comfort zone. I mean, we didn't mention this before, you know? They like the 7 players, so they like to just hold. This could be the Umbrak strategy, but regardless, once again, Kratos going to go on Sniper. He's been doing pretty decent on Sniper, but he watches his roamer friend just get demolished by Pred. They do trade the frag out, but Kradu is going to be the one to try find the opening, but currently there's not much he can do. I think Daegu is sitting in the same spot as before, and before Kradu had to get all the way into top PC to find that frag, and he failed to do so last time, so I feel like we might be in for the long haul depending on how the Swamp will approach this.
Chris is back on Spy again. It somehow managed to work last time, so I can see going for it again. Blue actually don't have any off classes at all, so maybe they're going to try and take lobby, try and, I don't know, just get some kind of regular sack in. Actually, Chris is decloaked directly behind, and nope. They hurt him this time. But somehow Domo dies to, I think, a body shot from Kredu, and then manages to either kill himself or Crater. That's pretty bad for this hold, so now suddenly one is opened up for Red. They can get way more position in terms of sniping, and actually look like they kind of just want to see if they can hold any ground instead of just taking it a second. But Cadis goes down in lobby, which is awful. This is not what you want when holding last.
Yep, definitely not ideal. No demo to hold these choke points with their stickies. And Swamp just takes lobby for free. They go in through far left. They're getting a decent amount of space, but that Kradu sniper and some soldier aggression forces Daegu's Uber. They lose Domo. Ascent loses Chris for it, but they are completely fine with trading an Uber for Chris's life, as they now have full ad. They're going to be waiting on that spawner, and then they're going to just be strolling their way into second and try and find, well, a cap and maybe some frags too.
Yep, so we're going to see the Uber come out, well, not actually get used, but Umbrak and Cadis walk out one. They're going to take second. There's one soldier jumping them, but relatively uncontested. There's a sniper on the sewer, but Umbrak is well aware of that. Sniper's been pressured away, and now it's going to be on the Swamp to try and prevent Ascent from taking this mid for free as well. The Ubers are getting reasonably close, so actually Ascent want to go for just the classic IT push, where they jump forward and see what they can catch out. Nothing will get caught out, but trading that Uber for the sake of mid is pretty reasonable. Not going to complain too much of that, especially now that they know that the Swamp is going to be sitting there trying to push with Uber advantage with a sniper. Not really an ideal situation from them. We might see something like a flank push when they push, or some kind of back half type play.
Yeah, they're trying to just spam Daegu. Oh, Credo gets behind and gets the drop onto Daegu, so no Uber for the Swamp. Pred is going to try and sack onto Umbrak, try to find that med trade, but it doesn't seem to be working out for him. And the rest of the Swamp is either hiding or just trying to jump. Funds finds a second frag on mid. Crayon is in PC. He's going to just try to go for that one and done onto Umbrak. He finds Credo instead, but somehow Ascent hold on. They're going to go and cap the second point. They have about 60% ad. Cadis actually wants to just go into last already off of this. So they're going to be going into far right with this almost Uber. They get the sentry down as well. It's now 90%. Soldier jumps in onto Domo, gets him into spawn. The Swamp has 6 players up, but Ascent finally gets their Uber up. Josh baits the point. Uber gets popped onto Josh, onto Funds. Need to find some frags. Need to deal with this Pyro here, just that are straight in their face. They get that one, but no heavy frag. People are starting to go down. Cadis, Funds are dead. There goes Chris as well. Credo is in control room. And the Swamp seems to be in control of this last one. They're trying to recontest onto this heavy, but Credo can't find the frag. Neither can Josh. Armbrek is going to desperately try to get out, but Crafty is on the chase. Same with Domo. He's going to be jumping in. Relatively weak, but there's Funds. He's going to be denying Domo, and Umbrack will live to see another day.
That was a very eager last push from Ascent. Like, they went in when they were about 85. They took far right. It was looking good as long as they just didn't lose anyone before the Uber and once they Ubered, but they end up losing their demo and a scout almost immediately as soon as the Uber gets used. So I don't know. Even in best case scenario, I don't think you're going to end up winning that particularly easily. The little repush could have worked, apart from turns out arrowing a heavy, getting about 700, 800 damage into that one heavy is not going to be too easy. And it's going to look like the Swamp is going to be able to take mid for this. They actually do lose Domo right at the end of it. Really unfortunately, he was caught in a corner. Now Ascent's going to try and push in. It is going to be a trade. They just have a much better Uber, although they nearly sacrificed Funds for it. Just about done. This is getting really scrappy, but it is going the way of Ascent, so almost like a little bit of a risky thing. I think Ascent maybe thought they had more advantage than they actually did. They didn't quite realize it was going to be a trade, but the Swamp didn't really have the focus bar to make anything more out of the trade than just what it was. And Chris actually goes in super deep, gets right on Daegu, does about 100 to the other 3 as well, so there's no way they're going to be able to contest this. Even Crafty jumping is really optimistic. There's no way he gets anything.
These players are so weak. There's nothing they can do. They're just going to get cleaned up by hit scan classes, and Crayon is already on that NG, trying to get the sentry up on the right side as Ascent is peeking through one and rollout, and they isolate both Pred and Domo. That's 2 really quick initial frags, and now they're just going to go and play this point. It's just Crayon and Daegu left, and they can't do anything. Credo even headshots Crayon straight in the face, so that's going to be a very dominant push from Ascent into last. It's going to be 2-0.
Ascent managed to basically just walk through rollout. They so nearly had Umbrak die. I thought there was going to be like some just absolute disaster where they all eat way too much spam, Umbrak dies, and then they get crushed there, but I guess Swamp didn't really have the players. It's just, I don't know. It's always going to be rough, even if you treat it as kind of a non-Uber situation, 4v6. We see another mid. We see, once again, Gink is on Sniper. We have Credo on Sniper as well. Credo gets the original pickoff, the initial, and Gink is now just kind of in choke, seeing what he can do. Pred goes in, gets no significant damage really at all, and that's basically it for the Swamp. They back up, they know their sniper hasn't really hit anything, and once you lose that soldier as well, it's like you have no real aggression on this mid anymore. You're not going to win this long fight, so you just got to back out and try and treat it as a... Actually, I was going to say an equal Uber situation, but Ascent have managed to get themselves at 20% advantage. I don't think they're aware enough of it, though. It could have been just about pushable, but they're playing it safe. They're 2 rounds up. They don't need to be over the top.
Yep, and it's a sniper v sniper battle, so with even Ubers, it's going to be a battle of who can hit the big headshot onto the medic and who will die, but currently neither is really having too much success. Ascent does try to take sewers and create a favorable angle onto Daegu, but Daegu's sitting in that little corner by lower PC where you can really get hit, you can get spanned by rockets, but no sniper is going to get a headshot onto you from there, so safe for him. Umbrak is in a bit of a more risky spot. He was about 50 HP standing on top of top PC, but Gink did not get the angle in time to utilize that, as Kredu gets the headshot onto Crafty Dave. So that's one. That is a pick that Kredu can use to get a bit of a more risky angle in. Gink is actually peeking lower PC, so we're going to be in a bit of a sniper battle, but Kredu can't find the frag, and Gink finds the headshot onto Josh, so players have been traded out. Might be able to clean up Pred. I'm going to try, but they won't. So, still even Ubers and even players.
Yeah, Josh will be back up in just a couple seconds. Doesn't look like either team particularly wants to jump anyone in. We have a slightly more aggressive peek on Choke for Ascent. But you do manage to get Domo, which is going to make this hold a lot more difficult. You can't spam the sniper on Choke anywhere near as easily with just a soldier. And Dago is kind of stuck in his position. Hades is getting his stickies really close. If he can just get a couple stickies down, before he gets caught out, actually Daegu would go down, but actually 3 people go down, 4 go down. Oh my god. Okay, this is actually just going to complete carnage and Choke. It's going to end up with a trade. Much better Uber for Ascent. They can't really chase with this, though. They only have 3. They lost like 2 guys in Choke basically for nothing, trying to get this overzealous pick on Daegu. They're just going to get farmed in Choke. They have to. No? Oh my god, Josh with 2 very clutch kills. Ombrak is somehow going to get out of this. And actually Ascent, now with their spawns, they want to come back in. They just had both scouts come up. Gink is going down. Swamp is just caught in Choke, not really doing anything again. They didn't really manage to get the position they needed to. Oh my, Crayon's going down as well. Okay. That went from just complete chaos for Ascent to just Swamp being able to do nothing at all. Getting completely farmed, and now they're on last with technical slight advantage. I don't see them pushing off this. I think we're going to see some more sniping action from your boy Gink.
I'm disappointed that the Pug players don't thrive in just complete chaos. It seems like Ascent was the better team on that end, but yeah, it's a little bit of a even Uber stalemate once again. But this time, Ascent's not going to be sweating it too much. I mean, they're on the Swamp's second. They're up 2 rounds. Swamp has the pressure of having to get at least 2 rounds in within the next 8.5 minutes to close this game out, or at least, well, not close the game out, but get it into Golden Cap. So they have to run that sniper. It's going to be Gink once again, peeking into lobby. He wants to get any of these picks, but it's only in a very weird angle that is very easy to get caught in.
That's a nice direct from Josh. That was crispy. And now Swamp are 2 down. They look like they're going to get forced. They're going to trade this. It's a slightly better Uber. 1 flash from Ascent. They should be able to get decently far and take down the gun. Actually, the Swamp are playing a lot in spawn. But, okay, Gink hits his shot. He takes down Ombrak. We get there eventually. And now it's just turning into a really scrappy fight. Ascent have to play fast in order to negate the heals on the Swamp. This is looking like it can pay off. Chris is in a great position, just pounding rockets down the point. And yeah, that scrappy fight ended up going all the way of Ascent. It could have easily gone the other way, but they hit their shots today.
Yeah, there was one really clutch jump from Josh, who just jumped from right side straight into the combo with like the final parts of the Uber, and then just air shots Domo, and it's like, all right, no demo for the Swamp. And then yeah, the DM of the Scouts and Soldier just managed to outdo the heals from Daegu. Going into the 4th mid, it's 3-0. 7 minutes left for the Swamp to try and come back from this deficit. As Josh picks very aggressively on the left side together with Chris, trying to play with these healless Swamp players, but from behind.
Beautiful the last shot on Chris there, but the frags are going the way of Ascent again. But the Swamp don't want to give this up. They still want to try and do something. They actually managed to take down Kados. Funds is pretty weak on point, but once again, these kind of scrappy fights are going the way of Ascent time after time. It's unfortunate because they looked like they were in a decent position. When they took down Kados just before Funds managed to kind of get away, it looked like they could get 2 kills for free, but not really happening. And once again, Ascent is there with this massive Uber advantage. They were peeking a little bit into last to deny crit hills and just assert dominance, basically. Yeah. And once again, we're going to see the Swamp try and hold this Uber disadvantage last. They have a gun up, but they're more or less playing by spawn, hoping to try and force Ascent early and then just repush.
Just getting the Uber in onto left side. Doesn't really get any initial frags. He eventually finds Crayon, but the rest of his team is where the frags are happening. Domo, Crafty, Pred, they are going down to the non-Uber players from Ascent now. Kate is just on the point and just asserts his dominance, just forces everyone off the point with his mind only. And he's just going to cap it up. It's going to be 4-0 for Ascent.
This is unfortunately looking a little bit too close to what I was expecting, honestly. Like, I was kind of thinking Ascent would be a little bit rough around the edges, and maybe the fact that the Swamp is a... You mentioned them as being like a pug team quite a bit. Like, they are more those kind of players where, like, scrappy fights are like their forte, but when you're not winning the scrappy fights and you're not winning the strategy, you're not really going to be doing a lot. But anyway, we have Gink on Sniper again. He hits one headshot on Chris, but that's all that happens for his team at mid. He's now going to die and choke. Davy's going to frantically try and get out. Actually, does hit a crispy little headshot on Freddy. Doesn't really mean anything in the grand scheme of things, but it's good just to kind of, you know, get a certain sense of your aim isn't completely awful, you know? You're still achieving something, even if it's after the mid's already lost.
Can get you some confidence in, you know, for the next map.
Whoa, it's 4 minutes 40. This is still doable. I'm still feeling like all you actually need here. Gink is on Sniper. All you actually need is him to hit an absolutely nutty headshot on Umbrak as they walk in, and just for them to be like, nah, man, we don't need this strategy. We're gonna just take dodgy fights all the way, and just, you know, just slightly tune up the DM. Because like I said, they're nearly winning these scrappy fights. It's not like it's completely outside the realms of possibility.
Oh, it definitely is, but Ascent with their Uber is taking lobby right now. Kadis wants to go left again. See what he's doing this time. He's going to try and go into that sentry, but it completely denies him. They try to spam it down, but Crayon is standing next to the sentry, just trying to deny any of the rockets to keep that sentry up for a long time, which gives Swamp really good positioning into this last point. Ascent does have some players on top trying to go over to the left side and collapse onto these players, but Josh gets met with a pyre, with Fun is on the point together with Crazy. They have so much time. The Swamp has to stay on the point, and Ascent is just killing all of them right now. It's just Crafty and Pred. They're too weak. They get killed by some splash. And that's going to be the last round. It's going to be 5-0 to Ascent.
That's rough. That's a rough way to lose. I was thinking with Crayon's denial of all the spam on that gun, I was thinking, oh yeah, they'll keep the gun up. They'll have a heavy. They'll have a pyro still. It'll just be like, you know, they wouldn't even need to repush. They would just hold the point so hard, and Ascent would just like fully commit. No. Not really. Like, losing Domo that early into the last as well, like, all that was really happening is they were just spamming the gun. I don't even know how Domo finds himself out of position to actually die there. After that point, it's like, you're not going to win the slightly longer spam game anyway, so, I don't know, rough map for this one. So I think we do actually have some logs to take a look at. So, whew, oh my lord, Fredu, my man, holy crap, 27 for 8. 318 DPM. He's a good scout. He's a good scout. Dude, that's filth.
I mean, you can't argue with numbers like that. Those are just complete domination stats. Like, I mean, he also got like 13 headshots, and yeah, also highlighted Funds is 19 and 6. The scouts reign supreme on that map.
Unsurprisingly, turns out best class in the game gets some pretty good stats. Like, as I said, you saw like the fact that Gink had a certain amount of impact on the Sniper on like a couple of the mids, but it would usually be either like a weak soldier, or we saw a couple of times like right at the end of a fight where basically mid was already lost. He'd get a headshot, and then it's like, right, technically got a frag. Didn't really change the course of the mid though. And then Crayon, we saw some decent things like here and there, like some of the, like I said, some of the last he'd, you know, be on heavy or he'd be on pyro, and like he'd do a certain amount, but then they'd lose the scrappy fights anyway. So I don't know. I think like we've got such a disparity in terms of, such a difference in terms of just the raw mechanical scout skill. Like Credo and Funds are two of the best DM scouts that are active in the game. And Gink, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm pretty sure, so Gink did play scout for the Weebs last season at one point, but I think before that he's mostly ended up playing like soldier at different times, I think. I don't think he's one of those hardcore scout mains, the likes of which you see on Ascent.
He's a sniper main, actually.
Yes, well, we saw how well that went.
I mean, it went okay, you know. It's just that
there were some decent shots. It's just not.
Yes.
not quite those key clutch ones, which turns the
Yeah, definitely.
fight into your favor. I think also if you look at obviously it's a 5-0. Like there's no point in dwelling on the stats for too long because a 5-0 is a 5-0. It's just straight up one team was way better than the other. Little bit upset that I didn't have any epic frag movie type clips from Domo. As I said, I'm a big fan of Domo. I was hoping to see some big triumphant return to form, but this wasn't the game for them. In fairness, again, if you're demo on a losing team, again on process against scouts, which are just way better, it's not going to go well. Basically, that's about the extent to which he needs to be discussed. Unlucky dude.
Yeah, sometimes sometimes life just sucks, and you just don't have to. You just have to stop dwelling on that you just got owned. I think the Swamp has to look forward to this map and see if they can recover from the 5-0 that they've just been handed. Though to be fair, I mean they had some solid mids, which is definitely like always the strong foundation you need to start winning is winning those mids, getting the advantage early, and then trying to convert off of those advantages. But I think one of the problems that the Swamp mids seem to have is that they never had the mids that like they were never rolls. Like they won them eventually, but they never got like a med, or they didn't never got like 4 frags, so you get a free push into last anyway. Like got mid and maybe second, and then they just got put into a stalemate, which as we've seen, they didn't really quite ever got the better end of it.
Yeah, I think if you take into account the way that a lot of the game is, being able to actually deal with stalemates and create advantages for yourself is such a big part of the game. And if you don't really have that down as a team, you're always gonna have a tricky time. We have the very complicated stats, which I 100% fully understand exactly what's happening in every part on the stream right now. The important bits we're going to see is the fact that, surprise, surprise, Brady's listed multiple times as being a big frag maker in a lot of very important areas. HiipFire, tell me what's going on here.
Well, in this little statistic here, you can see the difference between individual players, how much kills they got on each other in particular. So on the top stat, you can see that Kredu got 9 kills on Crayon as opposed to Crayon, who got 1. And most of these stats seem to be boiling down to scouts kill roamers a lot, as the Swamp stats are scouts killing Chris.
Scouts killing roamers. Whoa.
Roamer. Yeah, right? Like that's like that that's the that's pretty obvious that that's the case. You got Pred and Chris and them getting killed by scouts makes sense. But then you have Funds and Kredu also woefully outplaying their respective scouts, the pocket scout and the flank scout, with Kredu getting 9 to Crayon's 1 and Funds getting 6 to Gink's 1. I mean, especially if you're like the flank scout who is forced into 1v1s against the other flank scout, like if you're not consistently winning those, then like that's not going to really be nice. Like with the combo scout, it can be a bit more iffier since you can maybe get Ubered in a lot more and then you just lose by default. But you got that, and then you also have Kredu killing Domo 5 times to Domo twice. But that's also a bit of a scout class better than Demo in 1v1. Never would have expected it.
Don't talk this madness.
But
yeah, more or less as previously discussed, Ascent scouts were just absolutely taking a dump on more or less every member of the other team. It was just truly a not fair fight. One thing you do have to mention is that Umbrak did manage to die once. No perfect game for you, unlucky dude. But yeah, I think so. Going into Sunshine, a lot of people talk about Sunshine in a very similar way to Process. They feel like it plays very, very similar. You have a mid where taking a specific side is not perhaps so important as some of the other mids. Like, so if you look at Snake, the way like a mid on Snake will flow is completely different to the Sunshine and Process kind of mids, where you can play like a default, you can play quite a passive or quite an aggressive default position, not commit hard to any one side, and not even go super deep at any point, just kind of feel the other team out. Whereas on the Snake, if you just try and stand on the high ground, you will just kind of get pounded. The only real thing on Sunshine that, at least from my point of view, it seems really important not to do is not to stack too many players onto the little bell tower area. Because if you have both your soldiers up there and the other demo still alive, they just get absolutely shredded and basically do nothing. I think on these kind of mids, you've got a lot of space. Similar to Process again, if not just a little bit more, you've got a lot of space for dodgy fights. And we already saw the Swamp winning the first 2 mids in quite dominating fashion. I think if there's going to be a way that the Swamp gets at least a couple rounds, makes this game interesting, it's going to be as a result of some decisive mids like we saw at the beginning of Process, and just maybe knowing their takes to second a little bit better. Like maybe, I would imagine Ascent would be a little bit less willing to super hard hold second if they've lost their medic or if they've lost a few players, just because Sunshine second is renowned for being that second which you don't want to lose anyone on. Because if you lose people, you will almost certainly lose last. It's a situation where, yeah, you could spam a bit, but it just makes more sense to hold last with all 6 than it is to try and go for a risky play on second, because last as it is relatively easy to hold comparatively. I think we're going to want to see the Swamp just have some absolute pounding mids. Throw this sniper to mid, all that stuff, just throw it out the window, because it ain't working. Don't even mess with it anymore. Just play the game, take some of these dodgy fights, and try and play off the fact that, like, on some of these decisive mids, where the Swamp just ran across point, Ascent just looked absolutely baffled. They had no idea how to deal with it. They just got pounded. I think that's what you want to see more of. Take it to Ascent, you know? Don't let them dictate the pace.
Well, for the side of Ascent, there's some good news. It seems like Elicor has reappeared on the server with 32 ping, which is not 180. So I think that there won't be as much issues on this map with a bit of disconnectedness and weird, unusual calling for Ascent, at least on this map, as they are playing with their full lineup. No problems, no Cadis. We're gonna see the old Flickmaster Supreme Elicor, you know, show off his weird 180-degree flicks that he has with his pipes. So that's going to be quite exciting to see.
I want to see the Elicor truly broken pipes, which is like, you have no idea how he aims and hits them, but he always does. He's absolutely crazy. This is the problem with Cadis. Cadis is just too boring as a demo. He tends to just, like, you know, play a little bit sensible, does this, does that, you know, uses stickies. I don't know. Elicor just runs at people with pipes out and just makes the highlight clips, you know? That's what I want to see. Especially with the fact that soldiers on this mid can just sit in the skybox from super high jumps. I want to see Elicor hit one of the skybox air shots on one of these mids, just to prove a point.
I'm honestly just watching him in, you know, warm up, and it still baffles me that Elicor is actually able to hit like anything with the way he aims, because it just doesn't make sense. He like locks into angles. He just flicks as violently as possible, it seems, and just like crosses his fingers and hopes it hits. And I mean, most of the time it seems to hit, so there's clearly some kind of theory behind these flicks. But
it's like him and Ams, you know? If you get them together, they'll explain to you the, like, throw your mouse across the room style of aiming.
Well, it'll be interesting to see, but it seems like we're waiting on Funds. The Ye Chapman, to get his internet figured out and join back into the server. Hopefully he will be here soon. I see him actually joining as I speak, so this game should be starting soon. But you think there's a comeback potential here? Do you think you can put a score line to this map or anything?
I think, okay, I'm not going to go super over the top and be like, yeah, I think Swamp's going to come back and absolutely pound us. No. I think this is going to go the way of Ascent, but I feel like this can be a better map for them. I don't see them winning it, but I feel like this is going to be a map where they can get more rounds and be in a bit more controlling of a position. Because it's a map which is... It's not brand new to the game by any means, but it's less established than Process. It's still... As I said, scrappy fights are more of an entity. So... I don't know, if there's a map they're going to do it on, I feel like it'd probably be this one, but... I think, with just the fact that Funds and Credo just seem to be completely on it today, I don't see it happening. Sorry.
Aww.
I know.
pessimistic analyst. This is very disappointing, but oh well, that's fine. I mean, it's a very valid position to hold as Ascent does ready up as Funds has finally connected. Ready up coming in from Crayon as well, which means we're going to go into the second map of this series, Ascent versus the Swamp. First map went 5-0 to Ascent on process. Now I'm going to see if the Swamp can maybe get at least a point, maybe 3 points on this second map, try to recover from the loss. See what's going on in his first mid, as Chris is just flying through the air into the flowers of the Swamp. He's going to retreat now, but the Swamp seems to be committing all of their players to the right side. Pred goes into flowers, everyone just going everywhere. Woo! Kills being traded out everywhere. Demo's going down, Scout's going down, Soldier's going down. A jump from Chris onto Daegu. Daegu serves straight into the air, survives with 7 HP, with Josh is on the flank. He cuts him off. But it seems like this mid is going to go the way of the Swamp after Pred chases all the way into second onto Umbrak. And yeah, that's going to be the mid to the Swamp.
Yes, that's the kind of mids you want to see. Like, Josh is now caught in a position where he's going to try... Actually, he did look like he want to try and contest mid. He's actually going to be happy trying to chase down Pred. Doesn't even get that. So actually, yeah, like, that, I think that was the kind of mid you want to see. It was only a little bit unfortunate. They lost track of Josh completely. And Daegu ended up backing up right into him. But if they'd kept track of where Josh was, I don't think Daegu would have gone down at all. And this would have been an even better position for the Swamp. So, I don't know, this is I think, livened things up. I think this is given me a bit more faith in the Swamp to actually be able to do more. Like I said, it's the same kind of mid they did on process. They just walked forward and Ascent looked really just hopeless trying to deal with it.
Swamp's 2-0 for winning the initial mids right now. So that is a good stat. You know, it gives you at least the general edge early on into this game. Ascent is technically on the back foot, sitting on their own second, but as the Ubers now are charged for both medics, the teams have to deliberate how they want to go about breaking this stalemate. Last time they did it with a bunch of sniper plays, some with varying degrees of success. And we'll see exactly what's going to happen on this second map, but right now it seems like the Swamp is a bit just bunched up by Choke. Gink picking into flowers, seeing if there's an opening, but the team's very passive here. But Pred jumping in, going for the big bomb onto second, tries to get in, actually crafty through Choke, is going to get in, get that force onto Umbrak, and now they're going to desperately try to get into mid. They did sacrifice both their soldiers though, so this is going to be a little bit difficult for the Swamp to hold as Ascent goes through Choke, gets some rockets onto Daegu. They now pop onto Domo. Domo's going to try to get onto any un-Ubered Ascent players, but he can't really make it through.
That was so brave from the Swamp to hold. They didn't hold really close, they just held on point where they could eat the most spam possible and be the furthest away from the enemy team when they were going to use the Uber. So they more or less used that Uber, like, that force, that was great, that double one, fantastic. But they didn't have their soldiers up to hold, and they didn't back up and just had the Uber to repush, they just let themselves get forced, didn't get anything from it, and now, actually because of that super late use, you have Umbrak sitting in Valley, just about to get his Uber, and a lot of the Swamp look like they can get caught in here, Domo in particular.
Yeah, oh, there goes Daegu, there goes Crafty. They get stuck by the corner just in front of Choke by the fort spawn. Both of them are down. Elikor does go down to Crafty Dave, so that's one pick for the Swamp that might allow him to go back in. Head wants to try go through Choke, gets a rocket onto Chris, but gets forced back out. Actually gets cleaned up by Funds and Chris together. Domo jumps out. It's just Gink, Crayon, and Domo on last. Some spawners coming in, but the ad is still up for Ascent, and they're capping up the second point.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know, everything's just so weird. Like, somehow the Swamp didn't realize that they had a significant enough Uber disadvantage. Daegu gets caught out. Domo very nearly, didn't even manage to jump to Choke there. It's really sloppy from the Swamp. At least, I said this Sunshine last is one of the easier lasts to hold, or at least one of the more difficult ones to actually push. And they're not actually insanely far behind on the Uber.
Double scout Uber into right side here. The gun is denying a lot of this Uber though. They eventually spam down the Sentry and try to go over to the left side where all the combo players from the Swamp are, but their Uber fades. They're not in the most ideal position as Elikor goes down and the Pyro denies a lot of rockets. Funds finds one frag onto Crafty Dave and they're all on the low ground. A direct reflect rocket from Kralin is going to find Chris. That's going to be the push for Ascent. They're going to have to back out as the Swamp pushes in with that ad.
Yep, so you're going to see the Swamp actually try and take this for free. They're running Pyro, they're running Heavy still. They're trying to deny any ability for Ascent to go forward to try and force them. Kradu is getting behind Dago, hitting 2 shots, and
oh no,
that's another drop. Kradu, my man, you're hitting everything.
Oh, and they just get completely collapsed upon on that point when their heals goes down, and now it's Domo on balcony. He's actually going to catch second here, just getting around all the Ascent players. Ascent wanted to roll that into last, but he's going to get the Swamp buy him some extra time so they can get their spawners up, forcing Ascent to recap this second point. They now have 4 players on last. Crafty's going to spawn in time, going to make it 5. They have their heals as well, but the Uber will be coming in from Umbrak, probably from the right side here, together with Funds and Elokor. Going right side, the sentry gets spammed down by some stickies from Elokor. The Uber has not been forced yet.
Oh my god.
Oh, this is not going to work out.
They get all the way behind point without using. There's now no sticks on point. There's just a Pyro there. They're almost trying to single debt. Actually, Crafty comes in from behind. He gets 3 somehow? Question mark?
That was massive. This is
That's
really
insane.
messy, and doesn't actually seems to be working out for the Swamp. The spawners aren't going to be there in time, and Kradu, Funds, Chris actually managed to overwhelm the healed players from the Swamp. They somehow managed to pull it out and make it 1-0.
That's so unfortunate. I thought for sure, like, Crafty gets like 3 complete. I don't know. I think he just walked out of spawner. This thing, they just weren't paying attention at all. He just absolutely just craps on like 3 people, and then, you know, yes, he goes down, but then you just kind of left with the medic and demo. I don't know quite how that went as much of a mess, but actually, seeing that this made Chris and Fred again really aggressive. Fred goes down. Again, Blue taking a lot of decent position, but Red seems happy just to kind of stay reasonably passive, play the heals, and wow, okay, damage's just over, instantly, just like that.
Well, I mean, sometimes it just happens like that, and with even Uber, Ascent wants to go off of this 1 extra player advantage that they have. Going in onto second, no forward spawns for Swamp, obviously.
Oh, the Swamp are so scared. They saw Elokor jump through choke, and they're just like, no, man, no, I ain't messing with him. It was almost exactly equal Ubers. They didn't have it yet. Ascent didn't either, but the second they saw how eager Ascent was to get through, they were having none of it. They got a lot of the fear.
They don't want to get frag movied by Elokor, so they're just going to go straight into last. Play it safe, pull on some off classes, a Pyro, a Sniper, Gink, sitting on the right side by the boxes, kind of hiding behind it, waiting for somebody to peek in, but Ascent's not really giving them any picks to work with, or any even aggressive peeks, really. Ascent just holding forward in this lobby area, and just letting Swamp be the ones to make plays is... This is definitely one of the more difficult last points to push in and push out.
I think we definitely can see some more peeking and prodding. Chris ends up trying to go for something, gets taken down, nothing really happens. You have the Sniper and Pyro trying to peek top left for the Swamp. Kind of pretty good. The Pyro can deny a lot of the spam, and the Sniper can just peek and prod. But actually, Karayan's just wanting to run under and just use the Pyro's completely broken damage. Just by manages to not take down Funds, but doesn't go down himself. He seems pretty happy, so back to little stalemate. We have no off classes on the side of Ascent. Suppose they'll round up and feel like they can more or less sit there and dictate the pace of the game.
Yeah, I mean, the last time we were in this situation, Swamp definitely wasn't really the team to break the stalemate. It was more of an Ascent beefed push that gave the Swamp the advantage going into it. So, no, they seem to be wanting to trade on the right side here. They actually do get the trade. The Sentry denying a lot, but still get onto Daegu, force that Uber off, but no frags are really to be had. Pred gets some good positioning in Graveyard here. Not sure if he's been spotted. He's going to try to make it onto second and then into balcony, onto Umbrak. He sees Umbrak.
Pred's completely behind. They have absolutely no idea. As long as they don't turn around at the worst possible time.
Oh, he tries to go into Elokor. Oh, he tries to focus on the Elokor instead, but you should just go onto Umbrak. That's the high value target. But oh, a rocket from Crafty. Long distance is going to hit a weak Umbrak. And they are going to get that med pick that they were looking for. It's just Kradu and Chris, and the Swamp as the key to get out of last. It's going to be that pick, and now they're going to be moving through lobby onto second.
Okay, if there's ever a chance for the Swamp to try and take a point for free and use this Uber to get through to second, it's now. The only thing they have is Chris actually just standing on last. Are you kidding me? Oh my days! Are you joking? Okay, right, the Swamp are on tilt.
Well, you know, when you try so hard, you don't succeed. It's got to feel very, very rough, but I mean, Dago's even asking in chat, was Chris on
They
Spy?
don't even
No,
know which class he was on.
He was Roamer. He just got through. He wasn't even invisible. They could have easily spotted him, but they didn't, and now they're down 2 rounds, 10 minutes in. Ascent going into this mid with a 2-0 lead. Let's see what's going on. Domo goes in on Cafe, gets very weak, and Dago as well, and Kratos just going to go in for the cleanup. Elikor finds the cleanup onto Domo as well, and no heals for the Swamp, and half the players already being out means that this is a win for Ascent. There are some players still in trying to get onto Umbrak, but Crafty goes down behind, Crayon in front going down as well. It's just Gink and Pred with 2-digit health.
That was so optimistic. He was feeling himself, dude. He's just like, guys, I got this, don't you worry. They have 2 of the best scouts in the game. I reckon, you know, this will pay off. Didn't happen, basically. Unlucky.
Yeah, sometimes you just need that positivity. If you're not gonna, you just need to try. I mean, he's gonna spawn in time for this, so nothing really lost. But the Uber coming in from Ascent onto last. They get the gun down. They try to focus that Yak Gink heavy, but they don't really get any frags. They just go onto the point. Lots of players from the Swamp very weak. They're getting cleaned up, but Josh Elikor dying as well. It's just Gink and his medic. He's trying to do what he can, trying to do the pocket heavy pub strats, but he goes down. It's going to be a 3-0 for Ascent.
It is. You saw from that, you know, obviously you can say, yeah, it makes sense. Go in, you know, a little bit early, haven't quite capped second because, you know, they might not have the crit hills, this, that, whatever. I'm pretty sure the main reason to do that is to just assert even more dominance and just be like, we don't care, we'll just walk at you. We've got all this Uber and all this fragging power. We're just gonna walk straight at you and just mince you. I think that's what we're seeing from Ascent. We're seeing the egos come out of it, you know. I like it.
Yeah, well, Swamp's going to need some confidence going into this mid. They haven't really been doing too hot, but they got a lot of space on left. They try to go into Cafe, but everyone by the entry just gets spammed down. Josh, Chris, and Elikor all find frags in front of Cafe, and the rest is just gone. They're dead. It's just Crafty behind. He wants to maybe do something, but he gets air shots by Umbrak for the cleanup. That's a little bit of a good frag movie clip for him, but that's going to be the mid for Ascent, a wipe for the Swamp, and it's not looking too good right now.
Nope, I think we're going to get another Uber advantage push in where Swamp desperately tries to have some off-classes which do something. They've got a slightly different sentry spot. They got heavy again, but honestly, these off-classes don't seem to be really causing much of a problem for Ascent. They just walk in and frag them, so I don't know. They're actually doing exactly that. They're walking through left. They actually get juggled quite a lot, and Funds goes down almost instantly. And there's no one really else able to get in, because Crafty's actually going to very nearly take down Elikor before getting cleaned up by Credu, and actually that push basically just got denied completely. Umbrak just got juggled a little bit, and Funds just ran straight into the mincer that was Gink's heavy.
It didn't quite work out. Credu tried to focus the heavy from Gink, but he's standing so close to the spawner that when he takes 250, he can just switch classes and go back to full health, so nothing much that Credu could do about it after his teammates died. Chris actually hiding in Graveyard, going down to Pred. So this is going to be 5v5 pushes. Swamp wants to try and push out, but they can't really find a way in. And
they've got like, they've got like 40% disadvantage. They're just standing on the point because they're just like, you won't push. Like, it was equal people. Like, I don't know, maybe they heard Gink was still on heavy. Maybe they just know the Swamp have like a lot of fear, but no, that was just like, I don't even know if that was like the brain play. That was just a we don't care. We're just going to stay here because we don't think you can do this. We've got Chris up on Spy now, trying to walk through low, see if he can get some kind of position to last. You wouldn't have thought between all the guys.
Got caught by a spam rocket, I'm pretty sure. I don't think Pred actually knew that there was a spy, but I mean, he's been spotted. His spy play isn't really going to work out as much. He's going to try again, but he might get caught by another spam rocket. Barely dodges Pred there. He does make it through. slowly but surely this play will develop. But I think we're going to quickly have to switch around, quickly check up what Gink's doing. He's on Sniper. Actually, Chris is looking at Gink. Just he's looking around, trying to find some overextending Ascent plays as the trade actually comes in from right side to get the Pyro down very quickly. Domo as well. 3 players, actually Crafty goes down as well. 3 players dropped in this Uber by the Swamp. It's just Pred and Gink for DM classes, and Pred's down. It's just a heavy. It's Gink. He's going to try again, but there's the backstab from Chris. And he gets the revolver onto Daegu as well. And that's going to be 4-0 for Ascent.
Yeah, that went about as badly as it could possibly go. That's, you know, classic move where you Uber really early. The other team's just like, oh yeah, this would be great. We'll have like all this Uber advantage. We'll just like farm them, and then you just use 3 instantly. And that's more or less your last hold.
This is a questionable mid here. We're playing Prolander, it seems,
Oh,
as
my
we have a
days.
Pyro, a Spy, and a Heavy. Well, let's see how this works out. As Ascent is a little bit passive here. They're just waiting for the Swamp aggression, but this time with their slow classes, they're going to be waiting in their own choke as well. Gink with his Tomislav just trying to find damage on anybody, but Ascent's not really giving him anything. Chris comes from behind, gets a rocket onto Daegu. Domo's very weak as well. A lot of Ascent players on fire from Crayon's detonator, I think, there. But there's Chris coming from behind. Nobody watching him.
Oh my god, he's pounding!
But Pred finds the med as well. And this is going to be a mid for the Swamp, as Gink is just sitting on Tetris, just asserting his dominance. But oh, there comes Chris onto Domo, trying to find a frag, trying to... Oh, he's going to die to Afterburn. And Kratos going to die to Crayon as well with the 3k on mid. And Ascent being a bit thrown off by this unconventional class lineup from the Swamp. They're going to take out the mid there.
I think we might need to reevaluate exactly what 6v6 is. I mean, like, Spy gets 2 kills, Pyro gets 2 kills. I'm thinking this is the meta change everyone's been expecting.
I mean, Ascent
Speaking of which, Gink just takes about 200 damage over the course of a second, so he's steadily walking away. Are they going to dry push? I think they more or less have to. This is just to prove a point, you know? This is just to say, we have a heavy, we have a Pyro, we can, like, deny the spam. It isn't actually as perhaps stupid as you'd say, as you'd maybe expect, because... yeah, they could walk so far, and like that one soldier bombing, what's he gonna do? There's a heavy, there's a Pyro. There's like no chance of really doing anything. It's just now whether they can either walk in and force to Uber, or whether they can get like a really good trade with their heavy.
I feel like trading with a heavy is like the most odd play ever, but they're trying on the right side here. And as probably expected, there's not much they can do about it. The Gink cannot get out in time to save his life, so he goes down. The trade not really working out. I feel like this is partially just to get Gink off of heavy, because like he's not really going to be able to do much with that lack of mobility. So he's actually staying on heavy.
Oh my! Oh. I think he may have just given up with the scout class. He's like, this is too much for me. I'm going to go something more on my level.
I mean, he kind of is he's just been giving up on the scout class his entire official. I mean, he played sniper for like 15 minutes last game as well. So I mean, he's just showing that, you know, Scout isn't the best class. Maybe it's just heavy.
Speaking of the heavy, he is just slowly walking forward on about 400 health, just the slowest ball in the world, taking point all by himself. You go, Gink. You go. Woo! Oh my days. Okay.
I'm proud of my boy Gink on the heavy.
Even being good boy and capping. So right, we got Equal Uber, Ascent on their last again. They've got a sniper. Josh will be up in time for things. There's no actual... oh, unlucky bread. There's no actual aggressive off-class for the Swamp, so they're not going to be forcing an Uber anytime soon, but I'll be honest, I think at this point they're happy just to see how far they can tilt Ascent into making a bad push.
I mean, a Pyro and a heavy, no scouts. It's a decent approach to it. King actually tries to get into lobby, but gets spammed down really hard. Is forced to eat the old sandwich to get his health back. But I mean, this is also a really passive hold from the Swamp. I mean, Daego's sitting in second, like he's basically half baiting his team just so he can't really get forced. Like, this does not look like a hold of a team that wants to push in. And Crayon actually goes down to funds. It's gonna let Ascent at least have some kind of resemblance of an attempt to get out. They find Pred, so that's 2 picks
Chris manages to get out on literally 1 health. I'd be pretty salty by his pred right now. So kind of 2 down for blue, and oh my, they drop Crafty. They do have to use Umbra. Okay, somehow Elikor dies as well. This is the weirdest Uber trade I've seen in a very, very long time, and the Gink is just shredding! Oh my god, maybe he's got something going for him.
Kratos wants to 1v1 Gink. Actually has the heals. Gink needs to get that pack, but he can't get it in time. Crayon just uncloaks in front of Kratos. And Kratos now has to deal with a 50 HP Pred that tries to backcap. That doesn't really work out. And now Ascent is on last again. But it is a bit of advantage for them, about 40%. As the Swamp continues on their weird tangent of having 2 off classes. One walking incredibly slow and one becoming invisible sometimes, but this does not
Crayon is literally asking to get just randomly shot at. He's just standing in the middle of like the balcony. Oh, literally just asking for it. Right, okay, so Uber advantage from Ascent. They're gonna, I was gonna say they would want to push off this, but they have a sniper. They don't seem particularly eager to do anything. It was about 40%. Granted, a lot of that was from Daegu not healing. They couldn't really predict that, but...
What is this Gink hiding spot in Graveyard? Chris has spotted it too. Domo has been spotted as well.
Oh my god.
They don't know. Oh, this is... Are they going to Uber into this? That would be so good if they just Uber into these 2 players here, because Daegu cannot save them. Oh, there's Funds. He's peeking it. Oh, he gets piped by Gink. Oh, Domo! Oh, the 2K!
This is just... You wouldn't believe it. You wouldn't believe something that dumb could happen.
Oh, that is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to just get that 2K of all things. But a trade is commencing here on second between Elikor and Crafty. Seems to be that Ascent's going to have pretty decent positioning going into the dry part of this push, as Crafty's going to create some
but
pressure.
the last
back cap from Crayon. And
the spy works out. Okay, boys, right. 8 minutes, 3-round difference. This is possible. They are tilting Ascent enough. This is like, throw the rulebook out the window. No one cares anymore. This is just the Swamp playing how the Swamp want to play. I respect that.
To be fair, I mean, you should have seen that coming. I mean, there's a spy. He's going to uncloak a match.
It is true. Dude's been on spy for the last like 15 minutes. Like, maybe a back cap. Might be possible. So once again, they have a heavy to mid, no snipe. Oh, no, Domo immediately gets picked off. Okay, rough mid already. Rough mid, alright.
I mean, Ascent is responding to this like the way you want to. Like, they have slow classes, so you just go fast and then catch people off. Like the 2 people that actually arrived to mid on time. So now...
Are you seeing where the heavy and medic is?
Well, they caught him off guard, but unfortunately, you know, frags, they actually lose their roamer in all of this. Oh,
no, they're losing everyone. That's speed.
It's just Domo, Crafty, Crayon. Domo's 20 HP. Crafty is also out. Crayon loses to Chris. Well, Ascent is just going to be walking in. They have Uber. They have number add. They have isolated Crafty here on the left side. He's probably going to go down. Uber being popped. Josh and Elikor get this Uber. There's Domo in the air. He's going to crater. A Pyro from Gink on the left side. He's going to try to just bring some chaos into this last push. As Ascent's just getting air blasted everywhere, but nobody from the Swamp is in the range of blocking that last point. As Kratos caps it, it's going to be 5-1 to Ascent.
They were having none of it. Turns out the strat where you keep your scout heavy and medic just around the corner on choke didn't quite work out. A little bit unfortunate. Honestly, you know, there was a little like sympathy round where Swamp just managed to kind of, you know, mess around enough with Ascent that they managed to get the round, but I think at this point Ascent is gonna push them back to the highest room, tallest tower. Isn't that a good strat? I mean, help me, HiipFire.
Well, anyway, on this mid, there's some crits for Daegu, who probably is wanting to give it to Domo, but Chris and Funds just take the combo out just like that. It's actually just Gink and Pred as the flank has also been farmed. It's Pred on the tower trying to maybe get onto Umbrak. He's flying in the air. He's not really arriving to Umbrak. He just gets meleeed by Elikor. Gink is hiding in the same high spot again. Will Elikor read it? I think he has read it. Yep,
Oh my
there it
God.
is. He has been read like a book. That is some good play from Elicor there. Gink actually saying no in full caps in chat. Very unhappy about his play being read like this, but Ascent's going to be going into last once again with full Uber advantage with Funds and Elicor this time. Second cap is up now, and now some players from the swamp are spawning, but Ascent is just kind of standing on the point, maybe unaware that if you're Ubered and on the point, you can't cap it. Kratos finds Crayon. Funds runs into Daegu by accident as Spy, and there's Domo, goes down to a direct. That's going to be the last round. It's going to be 6-1 to Ascent.
That is a very GG. That was a game the likes of which I didn't expect that. Did you expect that?
No, not really.
No,
I wouldn't say so.
No, I don't think many people could have expected it to go down exactly the way it did. I respect the fact that we have some teams out there trying different ways of playing. Unfortunately, not different ways of winning, but what are you going to do?
Different ways of losing, maybe. There's a way to put it, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, just it was some creativity. I mean, that one mid worked really well. I mean, it definitely caught him off guard, but yeah, sometimes the coolest ideas are unfortunately cool on paper, but not cool in, practicality.
So once again, we have a very, very similar story. Credu and Funds absolutely pounded people. Credu 20 for 6, Funds 21 for 9. Not too unexpected, considering the fact that they just seem to have almost complete dominance on mid. We had some great damage coming from Elicor and Chris. I actually thought, as much as maybe the logs don't reflect it, there was a couple times, 2, maybe 3 times, where Crafty would just come out of nowhere with a flank and just absolutely, look like he's going to be saving the swamp. And then they'd still somehow lose. Like, he'd get 2 really important kills or 3 really important kills, and his team would still end up losing. Apart from those key moments, seemed he more or less had a pretty rough game anyway. You got to respect the fact that Gink was going for as many classes played as physically possible.
Definitely, that's something to admire. I mean, I was the low pander fanboy for all their seasons for TFTV. So seeing these off classes happen, it makes me feel very happy. But unfortunate that it didn't quite work out. Look at these heal stats. The class always shows like the class they played the longest during the game. So it says that Gink is a heavy main and Crayon is a pyro main in these stats.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Gink and Crayon had more heals than any other players. Domo sitting just a little bit underneath. Crafty and Pred just sitting there right at the bottom, more or less being used, I think, as sacrificial lambs that game. While, by the second half, Gink sat there 14 minutes on heavy. He waddled around and, all credit to him. He made some plays. A lot of them weren't particularly great plays, but some of them worked out.
We'll see. But, I mean, obviously this was quite the win for Ascent, but would you say that there's any, light at the end of the tunnel for the Swamp players? Any positive takeaways, maybe?
So I think if you consider the fact that most people are expecting Ascent to be real up there in terms of, top 2, top 3 at the end of the season, people not making the same prediction for the Swamp, the fact that they still could have aggressive mids and just completely overwhelm Ascent is something positive. It's like, even though you're getting absolutely slammed by the Ascent scouts, you're still able to win mids based off your aggression. And so there's clearly like an amount of kind of coordinated team play there. It just happens to be that in the long fights, they didn't quite have the DM for it. But there are a few teams in Prem right now which have the DM of Ascent. I said, like, they have Elicor, they have Funds and Credo on Scout. Most other teams they're going to be playing against won't have that kind of fragging power. So in terms of, like, the other teams in Prem, I think there's still a certain amount to take away in the fact that if they, like, maybe if they go for some of these longer fights against a lot of the other teams, they'll just be able to win them and they'll be able to play this way and actually do all right. But in terms of Ascent and 7, like, I don't know. I don't see, unless we see a completely different version of the swamp by the end of the season, I don't see them making it deep into playoffs if they manage to get there at all.
Well, let's just go into the old interviews. We're gonna talk to one of the players from Ascent EU about the season, this game. Get the old thoughts out of this boy. And how are you doing? How are you doing, Umbrak?
I'm exhausted after this really long waiting. So the first thing I want to say is thanks to the Swamp for being so compassionate and kind to our issues and just waiting for us to get people in.
I think you got to respect that. The fact that there was probably about like a 20-30 minute delay, and there was only minimal amounts of people being upset. I think that's nice, you know. It's much better than trying to force things to go the way of a default, which frankly no one wants in Prem.
Yeah, it's nice to see people with a fair play and sportsmanship, you know.
Yeah. So in terms of the actual game, in terms of the playing part, how about we talk about the first map and a half, and then we talk about the last half of the second map? I feel like there were two very distinct games. So your guys seem to be a lot in control. When you played, obviously, first map was played with Kato. You guys played, then you were mostly in control, apart from a couple mid losses to begin with. You guys seemed more or less in control. You had a couple kind of early pushes onto last. Did everything feel more or less as it would be if you were playing with Elacor, or?
One thing was really funny. Like everybody knows Cadus is quite a vocal player, but as he was working for us, he barely said anything besides, "Can I get a cheeky buff, please?" So that was basically his input. But yeah, like thanks to him for working for us. I think the start of the process was kind of shaky, probably because we were not playing with our core and we weren't doing any warm up or TM or stuff like that. So that's probably why we didn't went into the game as well as we would have. And then the engine just powered on, and I feel like we're, like you said, in control. And I'm kind of disappointed I died to Yet Kink at the end.
Yeah, there were some certainly very, very questionable bits. Obviously, so this new look Ascent was created only about a week before the signups for Prem closed, right? It wasn't.
Yeah, like Josh confirmed, he was playing just the day of the signups ended.
Yeah, I say so. Obviously, you played with Credu last season, but playing with Funds now, it just seems like, as much as the rest of the team's really good, it just seemed like in this game in particular, your scouts just absolutely pounded everything. Has this been like a recurring thing? Does this kind of look like the way the team is going to go? Like very similar to how Low Panda had two really hard fragging scouts, where you'd give them a lot of resources, or are you trying to have a similar setup to how you did with Ascent last season, where you
want me to display my strategy to the other teams?
Well, I'll be honest. Certain teams may need all the help they can get. You know.
Whoa, you said it.
Whoa.
Not me. I don't know. I feel like obviously we have really two strong scouts. Probably the best duo you could get in Prem beside Talash and Amps. Arguably, maybe slightly better when it comes to the M. So yeah, obviously we're gonna use that. But Elacor is still a really hungry healing boy. He needs the heals to play correctly, and I feel like Franz and Elacor both play a lot around the heals, and Josh he doesn't do it as much with us that he did it with Lego, but everybody knows he was kind of a heal heavy player as well. But I feel like he fit well into the team in that manner, in that shape. And I don't know, I think there's still some miscommunication between Elacor and Franz when it comes to Uber, because both of them really want to lead it, and get all the heals. So we need to figure that out. And Credu, I never see him during the game, and somehow he always I don't see him on my screen. He's not around me, and yet he's just pounding all the time. So I don't know what to tell. Beside they're just good players, and I just built a team around me so I could get carried.
That does make a lot of sense. Kind of really the probably last little bit to warrant talking about. The whole pyro heavy spy to mid thing. Do you see much of a future in that? Do you think it was
God, no, please.
no?
I don't. Maybe it's good. There's still that element of surprise that will work on a lot of teams. It worked on us, so maybe there's a future for it. I hope there's not, because I don't really want to play that game. But I think we could see that even though we continued around, even though like it can work, but against really better teams. Hopefully, we are one of the better teams. I think against good players, it's not really gonna work in the long run. It can work for like 3 to 4 minutes, but then once you have figured that out, you can play around it. And even though they kept the heavy and the pyro, we just scored 2 quick rounds after they had one. So maybe if it gets refined, it can work. I know Seven is trying some shenanigans with the pyro and Thalash, but we haven't played around that a lot, so I can't say. I hope it's not going to be a thing in the future, but who knows?
Makes sense to me. Anything important you want to bring up, HiipFire?
I just want to know the always important question: are we gonna see this team at LAN?
Well, not a rewind. Obviously, it's going to be an Ascent, but not
the
us.
EU, the EU LAN.
We're going to talk about Denmark, see if we can make it. I know some of us are hyped for it, so it's going to depend on who else is going to come as well, and if all of us can make it. And then I think a lot of us will want to be at I-63, I think it's going to be.
Yes,
so
I-63.
Hopefully, yes. But, everything goes really quickly in TF2. We're not 7, we're not self-sufficient, so it's going to rely a lot on our money as well. So I hope so, again, but I can't really say for sure 100% we'll be there at LANs to perform and try to beat people.
Josh at LAN, even saying maybe, that gets me pretty excited. Alright, well, our producer has told me that Josh isn't going to LAN, so thank you for killing all of my excitement, thank you. But
Unlucky.
Oh well. But that's the only question I got, so unless you have anything else, we can wrap this up with some shoutouts.
Yeah, no, that's me happy.
Alright, well, we can go through the old alphabetical order with some shoutouts. So, eepily, you got anything?
Shout out my team. Shout out people watching. Shout out to the fact that I am horrendously sick, and I think maybe spent 70% of this cast just coughing, muted. So I'm glad I didn't manage to actually cough all over this stream and make a mess of it.
Alright, well, I'm next in the alphabetical order, so I will give a shout out to my ETF2L team, chumto.net. I guess I'll give a shout out to HiipFire.com, and that's it. Umbrak, what you got?
Shout out to Ascent, the players and the people behind the organization. Yeah, thank you. Shout out to the Swamp for again being really cool with our delays. Shout out to England and France internet providers for being shit. Shout out to you guys for casting, and to Beta for making this happen. Shout out to Credo's dog, actually. Never forget the 3 dogs of the Credo man. And shout out to Babs.
Alright, well, I guess that's it. Shoutouts, I forgot to do some other shoutouts. Shoutouts to Beater, obviously, for doing the production here. eepily for casting with me, tolerating my interesting casting. Shoutouts to TurboTabs, actually, who, is the main guy who organizes these EU TFTV casts. I recommend you guys check out teamfortress.tv on Twitter to get notifications on whenever these games will be casted. I think the next ETF2L official that's going to be casted, I think, is tomorrow. Yeah. I think it is. I'm blanking on
7
which
against Aura Electro is tomorrow.
There you go. So that's going to be casted. There's also another official that day that won't be casted, which is the German team versus Rakuzan, but that will not be casted. But there probably will be a cat or like a ghetto cast of that somewhere. But those were the games.
Wait.
Oh, yeah.
Check out my Twitter, Ascent_Umbrak, and check out Fantasy League from Peter on TFTV. That's pretty nuts.
Also, in case you weren't aware of the Danish land that we're referencing to, this will be Copenhagen Games 2018. Will be featuring TF2, Sixes, and Highlander. It will be the 28th to the 31st of March, so basically the entire Easter period. It will be in Copenhagen, as you can tell from the name, Copenhagen, Denmark. In case you don't know where Copenhagen is.
Where's Denmark?
Well, if you use Google, I'm not here to tell you everything.
He doesn't know.
If you don't know basic, topography, that's not my fault. But I hope you enjoyed this cast. From everyone here at Team Fortress TV, we hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you tomorrow.